And like special effects of the body horror and stuff here are pretty nuts.
I love it. Yeah, I think that was my favorite part of the film was the horror aspects.
Yeah,
of it.
because I would say that the acting chops, if we're going to be comparing it to say Miss 45 or even Driller Killer or any of the stuff that we've seen, I would say a lot of the character stuff here is
questionable,
very questionable, and to non-existent. But I did read somewhere that the guy who wrote the film said that he wrote it to democratically offend every group on the planet.
Oh, well then, fucking A.
That's what he did.
That's kind of awesome now. If that's what he tried to do, then I mean, he did it well in a sense.
That's just it.
It never gets to a point where I'm like totally offended. It just gets to it's a point where you're just like, is this what the filmmaker wants to say? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, well, because that's questionable.
For me, there were stuff.
I had a lot of fun with it, though.
I did. I had fun with it. There's there's a lot of stuff that works.
Yeah.
For me, it's just the bits that do drag. Drag quite a bit for me.
Well, it's kind of like this. It gets to a middle section where the horror is lifted out of it.
Yeah,
and
well,
it's like they take away the drink, and I'm like, that was the part.
It opens with
like
body horror
into.
And it ends with body horror, and then there's
it's first 20 minutes, last 20 minutes, but then the 60 minutes in between or so are just kind of like this weird bum comedy that's filled with dirty sex and rape and murder, but they still somehow play it tongue in cheek.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a couple jokes that work, but for the most part, that's just it. Is I felt it was trying to shock me, and I wasn't that shocked by it.
Okay,
but there were a couple good moments. I like the bit where they cut off the one homeless dude's dick and start throwing it around and playing monkey in the middle with it.
And it's such a long sequence. It's not like
I was watching it with my buddy, and like we laughed when we first saw what was happening, and then
I started feeling concerned.
Well, then I
was like, this poor motherfucker.
my buddy Mitch's
give him
point,
back his dick.
My buddy Mitch's point while watching it, and he was like, "Oh, they're committing to this." He was like, he was like, "This isn't just a bit. This is a scene.
This is saying something, you know?"
Yeah, because. And I think that was the stuff that I appreciated the most about the movie, that they would take something kind of grotesque or something silly
and just go all out,
and they would commit to it. And I admired the commitment to it. I loved the Vietnam flashbacks that the Hobo King has.
Yep.
Where like he
visualizes the Vietnamese people as like vampires almost or whatever.
It's so racist. It's crazy.
But I mean,
but it's trying to be the Hobo King
because it's
racist.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to paint the picture as like this movie is like, you know, totally terrible.
No, but I mean, it is trying to give you these shocking images, and I mean, I imagine at the time people were pretty offended, but watching it, you're definitely like we're currently in the headspace of this Hobo King.
Yeah,
exactly. And his whole thing is that he's like slitting their throats, and then he saves one of the women there. And I was terrified because I was like, oh god, is he gonna like rape someone now?
Yeah.
And but instead she just starts like licking his nipples while explosions go off in the background.
Yeah.
And I was like,
and not just licking, she's sucking on that boob, man. No. She is going to town like a baby at feeding hour.
And it was like every time they managed to subvert every time they managed to subvert my expectations like that, I was like, wow, okay, I'm in.
Yeah, I loved that shit.
Exactly. That was one of my favorite bits
in a way. But
then yeah, it has long commitments where it's trying to do like plot stuff about like two homeless brothers who are like,
and I just didn't feel that.
And
at all,
you
really.
couldn't track track any of the stories of what these people were saying to each other.
The stories, like the small plots, are just so. You can't comprehend them at all. Like
no, and there's so much time spent on them.
It's so weird.
Yeah,
it's so weird because it never amounts to anything either. Really, like all these little small things that are character building moments don't really add up to anything.
No, but by the time we got to the final showdown between the Hobo King and like the two homeless brothers, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that. Do these people know each other? Like I didn't realize
two homeless brothers.
Yeah, and the Hobo King was the thing. Like I hadn't seen them actually interact with the Hobo King in any kind. I was like,
in a significant way.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I didn't realize that this was the big dramatic showdown. Was like the Hobo King fighting these two guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was kind of confused by the time we got there because I did understand though, for example, the cop and the Hobo King rivalry. So when they fought each other, I was all in. Like when the cop breaks into the... Because he seems like he has a whole plan to take down the Hobo King, and then it ends up falling flat, so he just like walks into the junkyard and is like, I guess I'll just kill him.
Fuck this guy up then.